the June 2nd, 2021 Building Code Board of Appeals meeting. Kathy, could you do roll call, please?
Mr. Abathera?
Here.
Ms. Brooks? Mr. Jezerman?
Here.
Mr. Friesen?
Here.
Mr. Miller? Quorum present, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Kathy, could you please read the suspension of the Building Code Board of Appeals bylaws, please?
Yes, resolved that the Troy Building Code Board of Appeals hereby allows its members and members of the public to participate in public meetings by electronic means as allowed by Public Act 228 of 2020 and in accordance with Troy City Council Resolution 2021-04-048 declaring a local state of emergency and determining that an in-person meeting could detrimentally increase exposure of board members and the general public to COVID-19. The allowance to participate in public meetings shall continue until the Troy City Council lifts the local state of emergency or through December 31, 2021, whichever is earlier. Members participating electronically will be considered present and in attendance at the meeting and may participate in the meeting as if physically present. However, members must avoid using email, texting, instant messaging, and other such electronic forms of communication to make a decision or deliberate toward a decision. Resolved that the Troy Building Code Board of Appeals hereby establishes public participation rules for any eligible virtual meetings to provide two methods by which members of the public can be heard by others during meetings. Email sent to bcbapubliccomments@troymi.gov and received by 9 a.m. on the day of the meeting will be read during the public comment period of the meeting. Voicemail left at 248-524-3546 and is received by 9 a.m. on the day of the meeting will be played during the public comment period of the meeting. Both email and voicemail public comments will be limited to 3 minutes each. So, Mr. Chair, we need someone to move and then support that resolution, and then a roll call.
Move to support, or move to
I'll second that.
approve.
Vote, Kathy?
Can you tell me who moved in support? Because I didn't.
Sandy moved.
Sandy and Matt.
Okay, thank you. Matt was support.
Second,
Support,
yes.
Okay, thank you. It's very hard. It's echo, and I apologize. Mr. Jezerman?
Yes.
Mr. Friesen?
Yes.
Mr. Abathera?
Yes.
Motion carries.
We'll move to the approval of the minutes of the May 5th, 2021.
Yes. I
Matt?
support.
Who?
Friesen will move to approve.
And you
I'll
vote.
second.
Okay. Kathy, vote, please.
Mr. Jezerman?
Yes.
Mr. Friesen?
Yes.
Mr. Abathera?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, our first case is going to be a variance request for 1525 East Maple. Celine, could you tell us about that, please?
Sure. In February 2021, the Building Code Board of Appeals granted the petitioner a variance to install a ground sign that was to be set back 20 feet from the front property line. Petitioner requests to install same ground sign with a proposed 18-foot setback from the front property line per Chapter 85 signs. Paul Evans will give us more information about it, so I'll hand it to you, Paul.
Thank you, Mr. Huerta, and if somebody can share the screen so I can share my screen with the Zoom.
Give me 1 second. I got it right here. Okay, go ahead.
Got it. Okay, so on the presentation, I've just put together a few slides just to refresh everybody's memory. The subject property is located at 1525 East Maple. That's on the north side of Maple, just east of Stevenson Highway, outlined in red on the overhead here. And we've overlaid the zoning map. The subject property, everything in orange, is zoned a general commercial classification. We've got offices to the north and northeast and some industrial uses to the northwest. So the property is a Courtyard by Marriott, and in February, this board granted a variance so they could replace this sign with this sign. Now, the variance was for the area of the sign as well as the height of the sign, and at that time, oh, my apologies. Anyways, That's where the sign was going to go. They thought it was going to be 20 feet back from the Maple Road property line. Well, it turns out, after they took some additional measurements, that it's going to be 18 feet, 11 and 3/4 inches from the Maple Road property line. Now, I wrote the notice up as 18 feet setback, but that's what their site plan shows. So they're simply requesting a variance to install that sign, but they need the setback variance because 20 feet is the minimum, needs to be back from Maple Road property line. I'll turn it over to the board for any questions.
Anybody have any questions for Paul and Mike?
Did something change with the sign face itself, or
No, they just
just a misjudgment on the?
yeah, I think they're just trying to be doubly accurate, and it turns out, it's the same sign, same documents, but they just needed the setback variance, so
Yeah.
nothing different.
Basically moving it 1 foot, 1.5 inches.
I think if they're present, I think you might hear them say,
Okay.
Yeah, I would like to explain about it. I looked more into it on the geometry part of it. So what happens is that they changed the geometry of the sign itself, but they never related that to the center. So once you change the geometry, the center changes. So once, if you imagine setting it on top of the column, it was going to be offset. So that becomes a problem because now structurally you have a weak spot because you have more load on one side than the other. So in order to fix that, you would need to restructure and do a lot more work. So the option is just moving the sign, sliding the sign towards the front so that it's centered again. So it's a geometry thing, that a problem, to be correct. Yeah.
So one last question. So when you were looking at that 20, is that or the 18 feet, that was off of Maple or off the sidewalk?
well, off the Maple sidewalk, so the
Oh,
property
sidewalk.
line- Yeah,
Okay.
so the property line is just north of the Maple Road sidewalk.
Okay.
Paul, I have a question for you.
Yes,
Is that the top part of the sign or the base?
top part.
So the sign is 18 feet in the air.
The sign is actually 20, just
Oh.
under 23 feet in the air. But as you can see, they're going to use, you can see the
Paul?
base there.
We have to hold up 1 minute. We had a technical problem.
Oh, thank you.
There is no sound leaving here to the public. So I don't know if you pause.
That's okay. We're good? What he said?
Do we have to restart?
A call, please. We're good? Okay, we're back.
Oh, there's extra there.
They, my sound is on that. How can I do it? I'm muted, but the phone is trying to.
All right, sounds like you guys got me now.
I think so. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I got you now.
Okay.
Yeah, technical question.
It's a lot of feedback from somebody, though.
Did everything.
Think so.
It's not recording.
You need to turn your volume off and we'll continue. He's got to mute himself on Zoom.
Yeah, that's, here's the thing.
It's not on my end. I've just got the single line. So somebody's got a backfeed somewhere on a mic.
It's here in the site. We're good now.
On my end?
No, we're good.
Can you guys hear me?
Can you hear us now, Jim?
Because
Yes, I can.
Who's talking?
Jim Fields, I believe,
Fields
is
online.
from the sign company. Jim, you're from Allied Sign, correct?
Correct, Allied Signs.
Okay. All right, so we'll go back to where we started from?
Well, that's more a technical question. Do we need to start from the beginning?
If it were my board, I would say we should probably start over.
Yeah, I would say so too.
It'll only take a few minutes.
Okay. Now that we have volume, we're going to call to order the June 2nd, 2021 Building Code Board of Appeals meeting. Jackie, could you please take roll call? Excuse me, Kathy, could you please take roll call?
Mr. Abathir?
Here?
Ms. Brooks? Mr. Jezerman?
Here.
Mr. Friesen?
Here.
Mr. Miller? Quorum present.
Kathy, would you please read the suspension of the Building Code Board of Appeals bylaws, please?
Resolved that the Troy Building Code Board of Appeals hereby allows its members and members of the public to participate in public meetings by electronic means as allowed by Public Act 228 of 2020 and in accordance with the Troy City Council Resolution 2021-04-048 declaring a local state of emergency and determining that an in-person meeting could detrimentally increase exposure of board members and the general public to COVID-19. The allowance to participate in public meetings shall continue until the Troy City Council lifts the local state of emergency or through December 31, 2021, whichever is earlier. Members participating electronically will be considered present and in attendance at the meeting and may participate in the meeting as if physically present. However, members must avoid using email, texting, instant messaging, and other such electronic forms of communication to make a decision or deliberate toward a decision. Resolved that the Troy Building Code Board of Appeals hereby establishes public participation rules for any eligible virtual meetings to provide for two methods by which members of the public can be heard by others during meetings. Email sent to bcbapubliccomments@troymi.gov and received by 9 a.m. on the day of the meeting will be read during public comment period of the meeting. Voicemail left at 248-524-3546 and received by 9 a.m. on the day of the meeting will be played during the public comment period of the meeting. Both email and voicemail public comments will be limited to 3 minutes each.
Thank you, Kathy. Could I put a motion forward?
Move to approve the proposed resolution. Sandy?
I'll second that.
Kathy, take the vote, please.
Mr. Jezerman?
Yes.
Mr. Friesen?
Yes.
Mr. Abathir?
Yes. I need approval of the minutes of the May 5th, 2021.
Move to approve. Friesen?
Support.
Kathy?
Mr. Jezerman?
Yes.
Mr. Friesen?
Yes.
Mr. Abathir?
Yes. All right, we're going to move to hearing of the cases. The first one's going to be a variance request for 1525 East Maple. Paul, you're here. Would you like to tell us about this case, please?
I am, and we'll just wait for Mr. Huerta to share the screen, the Zoom feed.
Maury, you get this now. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna read the variance request for 1525 East Maple. In February 2021, the Building Code Board of Appeals granted the petitioner a variance to install a ground sign that was to be set back 20 feet from the property line. Petitioner requests to install same ground sign with a proposed 18-foot setback from the front property line per Chapter 85 signs. And I will hand this case to Paul Evans for further information.
Just need to stop sharing your screen so I can.
Yeah.
Thank you. And as indicated by the building official, this is for property at 1525 East Maple. The subject property on the overhead is located on the north side of East Maple, just east of Stevenson. The colors you see are the same image here, and I've overlaid zoning. Everything in orange is a general business zoning. The purple you see to the north and to the east indicates our office, and they are office buildings, and to the northwest we have some industrial uses. Now in February, this board granted a variance to the applicant so they could replace this sign with this sign. The variance at the time was for a height and area. And at the time, they had testified to the board that they did not need a setback variance because they met the ordinance minimum setback of 20 feet from the Maple Road property line. But since then, they've taken more careful measurements and realized they need just over 18-foot setback, and that's shown in your application documents. They are proposing to put up the same sign, and so they're here to seek your approval for the setback variance. I'll turn it back over to the board for any questions.
Matt, do you have a question for Paul?
No.
Sandy?
No question.
All right. Paul, I think the one question I had was, the 18 feet is measured from the property line at the sidewalk to the sign, it's 20 feet in the air, correct?
Right, nearest edge of the sign.
Okay. All right. We have the petitioner on
Yes.
Zoom? All right. Do you
Correct.
have anything that you want to tell us about it?
No, I mean, it's just a matter of a little over a foot width difference on the sign per side. And when we actually checked the property line, we realized that we were encroaching a little more than that 20 foot. So we just want to make sure that we're all on the same page and everything's approved as per the last meeting with just the oversight and that width measurement.
Okay.
I think we asked this in the last, back in February, but you're reusing the same footing, is that correct? Same base?
Yeah, everything's staying the same. So the footprint of the sign, you know, like we went over in the last meeting, the width of the pylon is smaller, the square footage of the sign is actually smaller. It doesn't have that large of a height footprint, but it's just that edge is going to be encroached a little more towards Maple.
Okay, thank you.
One last question, there's no, other than the backlit of the actual signage, right? This isn't like an acrylic sign, correct, on the front face, something of that nature? It's not like
Yeah,
a
it's just,
LED.
yeah, it's just, it's a plastic polycarb face, internally illuminated sign, same style that is existing. So there's no modifications, no exterior uplighting or any open face neon or channel letters or flashers. So
Okay.
it's still an internally illuminated cabinet.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see any
I would, I mean, if no other question,
no comment, no?
you know, I'll move to, to move to support this.
Okay.
That, I believe that this meets all the criteria of the board and exception of the characteristics of the property and compliance with all the requirements of the requester and premises, and follows the compliance of Chapter 805 and doesn't cause any harmful altercations to the property itself.
All right.
Support.
Kathy, vote please.
Mr. Friesen?
Yes.
Mr. Abathera?
Yes.
Mr. Zerman?
Yes.
You're all set. We'll move to our second
Thank
one.
you. Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Our second case is a variance request by Sasi Goanari at 1682 Borough Drive. We are going to have to postpone this one because we will not have a quorum. I have to recluse myself from this one. So we can't even vote on that, can we?
No, we can't.
Okay, so it'll be postponed until the July
Correct.
7th meeting.
Do we need a motion to postpone?
Yes, you do.
Okay.
Okay, I will move to postpone till the July meeting.
Support.
Kathy, take the vote, please.
Hello?
Yes, now, personally, I have a question. So does that mean, Gary, you can vote? And I'm really having a difficult time I'm going to ask all of you to speak a little bit louder, especially with the resolutions,
Okay.
because everything is kind of enclosed and it's hard to hear. I will do roll call. I'm assuming that you can vote on it even though you're,
I can vote to postpone it, yes.
okay. All right. Mr. Abathera,
Yes.
Mr. DeZerman,
Yes,
Mr. Friesen,
Yes.
motion carries.
sorry, I think the
The petitioner has a question?
petitioner has a question.
Hi, I'm Shashi. I'm trying to understand the reason for postponement, please.
We only have 3 people here today, and I have to recluse myself, so there'll only be 2, and there won't be enough for a quorum then. So you need to have 3 people for a quorum.
So who are the other two? May I know?
I can't hear them.
I can hear him.
Say it again,
No.
Sassy?
No, who are the other two? You said 3 people, including me.
No, 3 board members, and I have to recluse myself because I built your house, and I still have houses in the subdivision, so I can't vote on your case. So if we had a full board here, I was going to leave, and the 4 board members would be here. But I have to leave, there'll only be 2 people, so we have to postpone it till July 7th.
Oh, is this Gary?
Yes.
Oh, so who are the other board members, Gary? Just trying to understand.
What'd he say?
No,
There's 5 board members, 2 of them are absent today.
so what are their names, the other 2 board members?
Teresa Brooks and Mark Miller. Those are the ones that are not here.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
All right. So it's July 7th?
July 7th.
Okay, thank you, Gary.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll move to our next one is a variance request from Carrie Bolton at 1085 Shadow. Celine, could you tell us about that, please?
Yes, this property is a double front corner lot. Per the City of Troy zoning ordinance, it is in the R1C use district. As such, per Chapter 83 of the City of Troy Code, it has 30 feet required front setback along both Shadow Drive and Herald Drive. The petitioner is requesting a variance for an existing fence of 6 feet high, 100 feet obscuring vinyl fence that is 3 feet from the property line along the Herald Drive side, where the city code limits to 48 inches high non-obscuring fences, due to the fact that there is a back-to-back setback relationship to the rear neighboring lot. The total length of the fence requested by the petitioner to be permitted by the building department is 175 feet, which 75 feet of the fence do not require a variance. All this per Chapter 83.
Okay. Is the petitioner here?
So anyone of the attendees that is dialed into Zoom that is here to speak on this case, could you please raise your hand? Okay, one moment, and I'll move you over.
Well, there's nobody here.
No, but they're remote. So one
Are they
moment.
remote?
And there's one more. Okay, so now, Mr. Abathera, I believe you might see multiple people who have been moved over to a panelist because they would be an applicant.
Jackie, could you repeat that again? I couldn't hear you.
Sorry. I moved over 2 different parties to become a panelist because they raised their hand that they're the applicants. Do you see them or can you hear them?
Does anybody see him? I don't see him.
I don't see
Hello,
them.
can you hear me, Gary Bolton?
Yes,
William, it's
I
on
can
your
hear
Zoom.
him.
Well,
You can hear me?
as long as we can
Okay,
hear
yeah,
him.
we're trying to figure out how you can see us.
Okay,
Okay, well, we can hear you.
Okay.
There it is.
Oh, well, yeah, people say that all the time. That,
Okay.
okay.
All right. Is this Carrie Bolton?
Yes, I'm Kerry.
Yes. Could you please tell us why you need this variance?
Why I need this variance? Well, it dates back to when it all started. It's a matter of situation and circumstance. I'm really appealing to. During the time we got this fence, it was during COVID, and real estate just got back on the market, and it's crazy time. Everything was swamped. I don't know if you recall that time of the year last year. And anyway, during this period of time, we got the house, and I started searching for fence companies, and everybody was booked throughout the year plus in the next year. I called everybody in the whole city. Over a dozen people came out. And finally, a guy said that he could get it done, and he was referred to us, what's that? Anyway, from one of the resourceful sites, and seemed like a proper gentleman and everything good. And as well, at this time, my wife, mind you, was 8.5 months pregnant with twins. And I also, during this time, my mother, who was only 73, very healthy as a horse, exercised her whole life, we got told all of a sudden, like I think on a Monday or Tuesday, that she got cancer and was going to die within 6 months to a year. And she died 2 days later. It was a shock to us all. And as well, I had a personal injury and had to have neck surgery. I unable to move my arms or lift 5 pounds. You can imagine how stressful that is during a move and twins on the way. And not being able to lift them or help my wife. Anyway, multiple things. These are not excuses. I'm just letting you know the state where I was at, and you know the state matched it with this craziness with COVID. You know, people not going out. You know, things opening not. Anyway, he started putting the fence up. Of course, it wasn't within 2 weeks. It ended up being a good couple months later. And David Koss noticed him and talked to him about a permit. And apparently he didn't pull a permit, which, you know, I trusted he did. He was licensed and insured, you know. And anyway, said he talked to him and straightened it out, and now it's good. And came back and finished the project. And apparently he didn't pull a permit, so that's when I stepped in and requested a permit. And that's when I found out a corner lot has 2 front yards. I never was in this situation. I did not know. I was new to Detroit, and it's, again, not an excuse to follow your guidelines or ordinance, but we lined it up with our neighbors back to back. We figured he must have done it right. It's still here and standing. So we just lined it up with his. He has 2 accordance, a 4-foot open fence that lines up with my 6-foot covered fence. But on the other side of it, he's got 8 feet arborvitae's that you can't see through, that's covered. So, you know, kind of a wash there as far as they'd be able to see through and stuff like that. And it lines up nicely. It looks very nice. I have pictures. You know, it's not, you know, in your face. It just, you don't even really notice it. I believe most of my neighbors, I know the guys behind us and across the street, and a few others I talked to or have, you know, they don't mind it. They're good with it. And I'm just hoping that we could somehow work around it. I don't have anything but appealing to just the timing of the situation of it being COVID and craziness, and, you know, I'm sorry, you know, but to tear it down and restart is very costly. And we trimmed all the trees to go over the fence. So personally, it'd be a lot uglier if the fence was inside the tree line now, because we shaped them around the fence. So all you see is the fence and the trees, and it's very pretty from the outside in that regard. On the inside, it looks like all Charlie Brown Christmas trees in there. So
Okay.
that's what I'm leading to. And I'm still disability. I'm just still haven't gained all my strength and mobility in my arms. So I can't do the work myself. And but the twins aren't ready yet.
Okay, thank you, Kerry. Does any of the board members have any questions for the petitioner or for Celine? Celine?
Yeah, I have to inform the board that this case already has an open court case through David Koss, the court enforcement officer, and they're waiting for this resolution or rejection from the board for them to take action, and that would be in about 2 weeks. Just wanted to inform everybody of it.
Okay.
Showing pictures of them. That's the surrounding, that's the fence right here.
Okay.
It's a setback.
And that's the neighbors, arborvitae's.
That's just the perimeter, neighbors? That's the fence
Yes, sir.
again?
Yeah, so you can see the line and how it lines up. There's only one other house on that corner, just he and I.
Okay.
And it's, it's smoking anyway. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
All right, Kerry, we're going to discuss it between us first there. Celine, there's a fence behind the neighbor's arborvitae's, a 4-foot?
Yes, sir.
It's hard to see here, but
I can
there's
see parts of it.
a link fence, a short link fence on their side, for what I remember.
Okay.
And let me see if I got a picture of that, so I'm just going by memory.
I think it's a.
Yeah,
an
it's just
open
a basic
aluminum
black
fence.
steel fence with space in between, I think.
And I left also a PDF on your desk with the aerial.
Okay. But I'm saying the neighbor has that.
Um,
Kerry, I can tell you one thing that I can see a problem already is your driveway with the line sight of the people walking down the sidewalk.
We thought about that, and that we could, if you're allowed us to keep it, we could, kind of circle off the corner, because we've already talked about it, because it's a blind spot for us too. We would just cut it in and make a big huge view there, you know what I'm saying?
Yep,
Just
okay.
angle that one piece, that would obviously be not.
Okay, thank you, Kerry.
challenging to do.
Celine,
Yeah, before taking a vote, we just have to see if there's any public comment.
I was going to ask Jackie, is there any public comment on this one?
Yes. So the first thing I'll do is ask those that are in the meeting via Zoom, if you could please raise your hand if you want to make public comment at this time. Okay, one moment, I do see one. Okay. That person should be able to speak.
Yeah, hello. My name is Jeremy. I live further down the street on Harold Drive. I have no issue with this. I think the fence looks good. It's not a bad fence. Yeah, that's really my comment, and I see no problem with it.
Thank you. Okay. Are there any other attendees on the Zoom that would like to speak on this case?
Yeah, this is Ken Ostergaard. I sent in an email, so I don't know if I read that or you read that.
I will be reading the emails.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, all right. Mr. Abathira, I'll go ahead and read the emails now.
Okay.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Building Code Board of Appeals. My name is Kaj Oostergaard, and I'm the president of the Shallowbrook Subdivision Homeowners Association, where 1085 Shadow is located. The variance request was brought to my attention recently. I have solicited feedback from board members as well as from neighbors around 1085 Shadow. The association board has not voted on this issue, so the feedback is informal. No clear direction has emerged. Here is a summary of comments. Need to hear their rationale for the variance. The fence creates a blind spot between the cars in the driveway and the people on the sidewalk. This is a safety issue. I am not big on variances that are of personal nature or infringe on others' quality of life. I'm in favor of approving the variance 2 responses. So 2 people responded in favor of it. Do not make them take down the fence, approve the variance. I used to work for the city, I support the city, don't approve the variance. I don't have an issue with the fence. To me, bullet point number 1 is key versus what the rationale for the ordinance. Thanks, Kaj, OSTERGAARD, the SSHA president. The next one. One minute. To whom it may concern, my name is Svetlana Morhunov, Morhunov, and I live at 1120 Shadow Drive, which is very close to property with the fence in question, 1085 Shadow Drive. That will be discussed on June 2nd. I am fully supportive of this fence. It looks nice and harmonious with all our neighborhood. Hopefully you will approve it and this good fence will stay on this nice and clean property. Thank you, Svetlana Morhunov. All right, and I have, Mr. Abethera, I have to play voicemails. My apologies. I don't know if they're going to apply to Shadow, so I'll stop them if they don't, okay?
I'm sorry, that was all of it, Jackie?
She's got
No, I have voicemails.
Oh, okay.
Living in 4552 Post Drive in Troy.
Okay, that one's post. One moment.
Good morning. I'm actually calling because I would like to leave my opinion regarding the public hearing. I'm talking about location 10H5 Shadow. It's regarding fence. You know what, guys? I think it's very unfair to have this, to make this problem for owners. I perfectly understand that probably code is some type of restrictions, but this person did so much for his front yard, for this house, and this fence is absolutely okay, absolutely normal for people who are walking around, and all neighbors just like enjoying seeing his property, owner's property. So that really sounds a little bit unfair to give trouble time problem to this owner who really works very hard to make his place nice and cozy and enjoyable for people who walk around, for all neighbors. But on another hand, there is another house, Shadow, it's the corner, 1185, I believe so, which looks horrible, absolutely horrible from front, from side, and nobody takes any action. So I'm just comparing 2 properties and 1 property that maintains perfectly. Maybe this fence is not the best one because of code, but property looks perfectly nice and lots of work was put. Another property I mentioned, this corner 1185, looks like garbage, completely garbage. It looks ruined, it looks abandoned, and no action. How did I say? So can you please just take a look one more time, and maybe it's not a good idea to punish one person for good job and just make nothing just to make another person to take care about that.
Jackie, has that been 3 minutes?
Yep, we're at 3.
Okay.
All right, next voicemail.
Hi, I just got a notice about a code at 1085 Shadow. We live across the street. We live on 4509 Carroll. The front of our house faces that fence that's up at the corner. He just moved into the house a short time ago. and the fence is brand new. And I just want to say that we had no problem with that fence, and I think it would be a shame to make him take it down. My last name is D-E-W-S-K. My phone number is 248.
Okay, and last voicemail?
Good evening. This is Dr. Bar. I'm calling in regards to one of the public hearings I received. My home is 1655 Burr Oak Drive.
Okay. That concludes public comment.
Thank you, Jackie. Celine, I have a question for you. Should I ask the petitioner, since there's only 3 of us here, if he wants to postpone it till next month when there's a full board here? Because he needs...
That would be an option.
Okay.
I have a question as well for you, Celine, but...
Okay, go ahead with your question. Go with your question
I
first.
wanted to... No, go ahead.
Go ahead,
Listen
Matt.
to you first.
Looking at your drawings and the pictures, I don't see the, I guess I would say the east side of the house, the other opposite side. Is there any issues with the variance on the opposite side of the house? Not the driveway side, but the opposite side? I'm just trying to make sure that, or the setback from the back side of the house where the vinyl fence was
Yeah,
there.
there-
Is there any issues on that side?
The rear to rear,
Yeah.
so the setback is the furthest point. So, but I don't know if we had a caller from that lot or not. That I don't know.
So the setback on the back, they're at a rear to rear, so.
Rear to rear, yes,
Right.
they are the furthest points.
Right, but I'm saying at the back side of the house, right, where the fence, where they started the fence, on that opposite side of the house of the driveway, which I think is the east side, am I correct?
Are you talking, I'm sorry, are you talking about the opposite side between my other neighbor or behind me, the guy who has the fence parallel with me? Are you talking directly behind the home? Or?
Yeah, I'm actually asking Celine here for a second, just give me 1 second to kind of clarify something here. Between the two houses, do you see where the fence, I don't see any clear pictures
We
of
only
that.
have 2 sides, so that's what I was.
Carrie, the board's talking with Celine. I'll come back to you.
So, give me 1 second.
Because I just wanted to clarify what we're asking for on the,
So
This
I
is
got
all
here,
good, right?
If you look at,
Okay.
I got the GIS open.
yes,
So the property we're talking about is 1085,
Yes.
which is right here,
correct.
okay? You're
Yes.
talking about the back side of the fence?
No, talking on, between the two houses,
Right here?
where does he start the fence?
Oh, the fence is right at the property line.
I know that. Okay, come up the, between 1085 and 1099. He comes up that side.
This other side, even if it did, that would still be under the right.
You can come all the way up to the front property line, to the 30 foot off the front property line, correct?
Correct. So the only issue is on the street sides.
I don't
If I
think you
answer
can all
your
the way up to the
question.
sidewalk, Matt.
But, okay, so what I was saying is that the 30 foot, seeing his green line for his 30 foot setback, right?
Right.
Where does the fence start? Because I see no pictures or any indication of where the fence starts.
There's a red line back at the back of the house.
Yeah,
See
so
right at the back
if you-
corner? There's a little red
Oh,
line
okay,
there.
okay.
And the red says that's where the vinyl fence is.
See, I couldn't see that there.
Yeah.
I see that, I see what you're saying now.
Yeah. So,
Very small.
Yes.
Got it. Okay, sorry about that.
Um,
It was hard to see on there. That's what I couldn't understand.
Salim, a couple questions for you. How did this one come to us? Obviously, the gentleman put it in.
Yeah, so what happens is that it all started because David Coss found it, and so he started an enforcement. He found out there was no permit. So the enforcement has been going in through the courts already for some time. And so I think the judge, in this case, gave him an ultimatum to get a permit or a variance, and that's how he got to us, through that process.
All right, so the judge already said if he doesn't get the variance,
They're going to have to take it down
Have to take
in
it
about
down.
2 weeks.
okay. Do we have any more of these fences that Dave Cost or anybody else has found that are going to be coming to us the same way, that they're asking for forgiveness rather than permission?
No, we don't have that very often, no.
No? Okay.
You're looking for a precedent, right? No.
Yeah, I just didn't know if we're going to get a lot of these now, people start putting in fences without permits, and then they're getting caught.
I understand.
Because we've never had one before, but I don't know if things are changing. Okay. Carrie, are you still there?
Yes, sir.
I do have a question for you. I'll just put it out there. There's only 3 people on the board today. Normally, we have 5. You will need 2 of the 3 today to pass it, or you can wait till there's full quorum and you would need 3 of the 5 to pass. I'm giving you the option, since 2 people did not show up today, if you want to postpone it to next month. But before I ask that, Salim, would that be a problem with the judge?
It would be a problem, yes, sir. Yes, because the judge may think different than us.
Okay. All right, so you may not want to go that way. I want to make sure we have all our options, but you're right, the judge may just say, too bad.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Okay.
And I'm sorry for jumping in on there. I thought you were asking about a different side. Anyway, if I can say one last thing, I don't know if, I understand your point very much, asking for forgiveness instead of permission. That was not in all our mindset. And if my mind was anywhere near present during that time, I might have caught it myself. But we were just, we didn't I didn't look up the city ordinance. I assumed we were good. Everyone else had privacy fences, and we were lining up with the neighbors. We weren't trying to pull a fast when I told him what I wanted. I assumed he pulled what he needed. And the other reason why we moved in here was for a privacy fence. I wouldn't have cared if it was inside the property line or not. That wouldn't have mattered to me at all. I would have been happy to have done it that way and done it correct. But to move it, I'm hoping we don't have to. I'm really begging that we don't have to. I would have loved to have done it right, would have, been great that way. But I thought we were doing the right thing when we did it. And the last thing is why we did want a covered fence is we have a dog that we love very much and is sweet and loving to everybody, but when he sees another dog and there's a line of walkers, it just would be a problem. So that's why we wanted to blind that side from our dogs, so there's no issues.
All right, thank you, Kerry. Sandy, you have a question?
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I actually have a question for the petitioner. Gary, can you hear me all right?
Yes, I can, sir.
So I guess I'm curious. I'm sympathetic to your plight. I totally understand. I will say, however, though, this fence in general, driving by it today, and I understand your relationship to the next door neighbor, which we've actually had this debate multiple times on this board before. The line of arborvitaes in an open fence seems more obscuring than what you've done, but at the same time, it's perfectly legal, and we can debate whether that's right, wrong, or different. But the point is, theirs is legal and yours isn't.
I understand that.
And I would say that if this was coming before the installation, I would very likely oppose this fence, and I think I appreciate your commentary that you would have done it behind the trees if that was what was required. So I think that's all good. I guess my question is, you mentioned sort of offhandedly about the contractor and not pulling a permit and being licensed, bonded, whatever the case might be, and I'm curious what your options are as far as, I don't want to make you have to tear this down and pay for it if he did not follow the proper procedures and get the proper approvals. What has been your research or discussion so far as to what your options are here?
Gino has disappeared. He popped up. We searched every website, those home advisory, and they sent out recommendations, so Gino's contracting, I have his card, but he hasn't answered his phone. He's disappeared on me. He was a very nice guy, really I really liked him, to be honest. And his wife happened to be pregnant at the same time I was and delivered a month later. So, I mean, we chatted. But anyway, as far as repercussions from him, I'm not even, didn't even cross my mind to attempt finding him.
Okay. All right, thank you, Kerry. Did that answer your question, Sandy?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's unfortunate.
This, Matt, go
I
ahead.
have two questions. What is, just to confirm, what is the height of the fence currently?
It's 6 feet.
6 feet? And what is the setback off the sidewalk currently? Is that been measured?
Setback is 3 feet.
3 feet, is that measured? Okay.
So that'd be 2 feet off the lot line?
Yep.
Okay. What's permitted there, 4 foot? Could he put a 4 foot obscuring?
Because he has a back-to-back, yep. So it'll be a 4 foot non-obscuring.
Non-obscuring.
Non-obscuring,
That's
not a
right.
4 foot obscuring.
Correct.
Okay.
I wanted to also mention that it is very important that we also follow up on the corner visibility, because it is part of the code, so.
Yes, you can see it plain as day. Yeah.
If I may, that I would correct if you allow me to keep the other. I would absolutely, we've already talked about wanting to do that, as I
Yes,
said earlier.
you mentioned it already, Kerry. Okay.
Yeah, okay, sorry, I just wanted to.
Do board members have any questions for us? Matt? My fear is people in the city just gonna start putting fences up without getting permits, and then come up for a reason.
Reminiscent of a couple others that we've seen in the last year here, so.
Yeah. I mean, that's my biggest fear, is we're gonna open up a floodgate of just new fences coming in. That's,
What about an option of having them set it back? Giving a setback on them off that sidewalk to move it and put the triangle at the driveway, if they can do it, if you can keep it.
that would be, if that's something you're thinking of, wanting to move it back, how far I mean, either way, fence is coming out of the ground. Once it's pulled out, do we come back for another variance, or do we just, can we, as a board, can we suggest that it comes out and goes back, 15 feet, I'm just using it as a number? Or is this say strictly boom or boom? I mean, I don't really like negotiating at the table.
Yeah, that's another thing that I've been told that we shouldn't negotiate.
Right, so we should just see either it stays or it goes, and then it comes back, or whatever it has to do at that point. Or it could become a 4 foot obscuring fence with arborvitae's in it, and we have nothing to do about it.
So if you drop this down to 4 foot, would you?
Well,
It's
obscuring.
non-obscuring. 4 foot non-obscuring is what's
Maybe
allowed.
non-obscuring.
That's right.
Which the fence next to it is. It's a picket, aluminum or steel picket, 4 foot
Right,
non-obscuring.
right.
Filled in with arborvitae.
I thought the
Right.
same thing, just cut it down to 4 feet, put trees in front of it, we're all set. Yes,
So I wanted to mention that if he needed something different, he will have to apply again for the VCBA with a totally different proposal.
totally different, you have to come back to us and say, I pulled out my fence and I'm to do this. Okay, I understand he's under a time restraint because of the court order.
Court orders.
Right.
Can I add one thing, please?
Sure. Make it quick.
I will put arborvitae's across mine to match my neighbors. It hides the fence anyway. If that is anything, I'll put arborvitae's up.
I understand what you're saying, but
I should just throwing that out. That's all. I need to do that.
okay.
That would, look better for you, the city, and maybe somehow make more, Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
Matt, you got something there?
Yeah, I mean, just speaking candidly, I'm sure I would not have approved this fence as is ahead of time. I don't know what the options are, and I'm trying to, be sympathetic, but I agree with you completely as from a precedent standpoint, and I want to believe the applicant that this was, a mistake, and I feel bad, but, that's not going to stop anybody else from coming in and saying, I didn't know, I'm sorry.
Right.
I would agree with Sandy. I think if we would have came in front of our board ahead of time, I think we could have agreed to something, but at this point, it's a little too far ahead of us.
There's no easy answer, but, we have to look into what's best for the city also, for our residents, that unless they want to change our policies of where they allow fences. Anybody have any more questions for anybody?
Nothing else.
Anybody want to put a motion together to pass or deny?
Sounds like a good chair motion.
No, I gotta go back and forth, left and right, and visit, so.
I'd put a motion to deny the approval of the variance.
I'll second that or support.
Hold on before you second. Do we need it more, or just motion to deny?
I don't believe that it meets the intent of the code.
Okay.
I'll second that.
We have a second. Kathy, you take a vote, please.
Mr. Apathera?
Yes.
Affirmative?
Yes. I'm sorry, yes.
Mr. Jezerman?
Yes.
Was that a yes too, Mr. Jezerman?
That's a,
Okay, Mr.
Yes.
Friesen?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, we'll move. Sorry, Mr. We denied your request. We'll have to move to the next case. I lost it. Hold on a second. Our next one will be variance request from Michelle Namachio at 4578 Post Drive. Celine?
Yes, give me 1 second. This property is a double front corner lot. Per the City of Troy zoning ordinance, it is in the R1C use district. As such, per Chapter 83 of the City of Troy Code, it has 30 feet required front setback along the Post Drive and Waltham Drive. The petitioner is requesting a variance to install a 4 feet high, 315 feet non-obscuring aluminum fence at the property line along the Waltham Drive, where the city code limits to 30 inches high due to the fact that there isn't a back-to-back relationship to the rear neighboring lot, per Chapter 83.
Thank you, Celine. Is the petitioner present?
Yes, Mr. Apathera, 1 moment, please.
Okay.
If there are any other attendees on the Zoom meeting, please raise your hand if you're to join us. Okay, I just saw one and I moved.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hello, Michelle, how are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Could you please tell us why you need this variance, please?
Yes. So I moved here in November with my family, and we are in the planning stages right now. And we started calling fence companies and found out we have 30 foot on our side lot, which is really a majority of our property. So we have 60 foot from the edge of our house to the street sidewalk. And we'd only be able to put a fence 30 feet from the house per the city code. So really we're doing it for safety reasons. I have a 21-month-old and a 4-month-old. And I guess I'm more concerned about them running into the road because the 2-year-old wants to say hi to every single neighbor there is. And we also, there's a dog in the back as well, in the adjoining, and they have an invisible fence, and he loves dogs. So we're kind of trying to keep him out of the yard, so we constantly have to keep an eye on him. So we would really like to install a fence. Again, we looked at the, aluminum 3-rail, not obscuring, so it's probably one of the nicer fences, so we don't have an issue with, any visual from a corner lot, and it would add value to the neighborhood versus detracting it by putting a privacy vinyl fence. Let's see. I think that's the majority of the reason. And if we were to go with the regular building requirements, we would have to be 30 foot from the house, so it cuts off the majority of our yard, and then it's really not feasible to put a fence up for the cost, because it's about 10 grand to put a fence in. So I
Okay.
guess that's, again, it's more for safety. We've talked to our neighbors and everybody seems to be okay with it. At least the ones that we've talked to that are adjoining had no issues, the one across the street had no issues. So we've at least talked to them about it.
Okay, thank you. Celine?
Yes.
She mentioned that she had to be 30 feet from the house.
I'm sorry?
She mentioned she had to be 30 feet from the house with her fence.
The setback, no, what I mentioned is the setbacks.
Okay.
So what happens, I wanted to add that this fence could be by right if he had a back-to-back relationship. So the only difference is that it doesn't have a back-to-back relationship.
Because he's on a curve and not a...
It has, I have on the PDF that you have on your desk, it's right at the corner, so the back faces the side lot. And I can open GIS if you want me to.
So again, we don't want the fence in front of the house. We just want it to go from the corner
Yes.
of the front to the sidewalk.
There was a property similar to this close to this house we saw with a similar request. It was on Renshaw, if I remember back.
Yes.
I have the GIS, I'm sorry, interrupted.
You have the GIS?
Yeah, so let me see why it's not showing. Wait, you know why it's not showing? I had the GIS. It's not showing. Share this one? Okay. I gotta stop sharing it then.
Yeah, stop sharing.
You guys right here.
Share screen.
You put this one here?
No, just hit that.
Okay. Thank you so much. So I want to show you, because you guys had questions on the neighbor's side. So we have here, this is the side lot,
Okay.
and this is the side lot. So that's why she has no back-to-back relationship.
So she has no backyard.
Yeah, and the thing is that that's how it was developed. It's really not, it comes with the nature of the lot. So in this case, the hardship would be a physical hardship.
So, sorry.
Go ahead.
Salim, if 2460 was, I mean, it's on an angle, so I understand what you're saying, it's a side lot, but if that was a back-to-side lot, this fence would be approved?
By right.
Yeah, it would be legal? Okay.
Where's 2460's backyard then? Their back lot line?
Right here,
Just
very
that
small
little
backyard.
And then going up would be
Yeah.
their side yard?
Yeah.
So just that small segment parallel to the road is the back lot line, the longer segment is the side lot line.
It's just a very awkward geometry.
The house across the street, 2396, that would be a back to a side also then, just
Yeah,
like
this-
what she has.
Correct.
All right. Jackie, do we have any public comment on this?
One moment, Mr. Abdera. So if anyone has joined the Zoom meeting and has public comment on this case, please raise your hand. Okay, seeing none. There is, I believe, one voicemail, so one moment. Okay, I'll play the voicemail.
Good morning, this is Bob Ankel, living at 4552 Post Drive in Troy. This is reference to Chapter 83, with a resident at my neighbor, 4578 Post Drive, wants a variance. They put up a higher fence in their yard. I have no issues at all with that. As far as I'm concerned, be approved, and I'll be a happy person, and they'll be happy. Yeah. Have a nice day.
Mr. Becerra, that will be all the public comment.
He was at 4552?
Oh,
Yes.
that resident, his address?
Yeah, right
Yes.
there. Okay.
Okay, one moment, and I'll tell you.
That was right.
Yeah, it was 4552.
Was it 4552?
Okay.
Yes, 4552.
All right, thank you.
And what is the requested setback that they're asking for this in this permit? Off the sidewalk?
Hold on one second.
1 foot.
Oh, for the sidewalk, it's 1 foot. I'm sorry. I thought you went to setback. It's 1 foot
1 foot off
on the sidewalk. Yes.
And I'm flexible on the set, or how far from the sidewalk.
Yeah, that's just a requirement for repairs or any access to utilities.
That's fine to see you just tap on the glass of my business.
No, you're fine.
Go ahead, Sandy.
To Petitioner Michelle, I was just going to ask, so understanding your situation here, if the, Salim, sorry, the acceptable is 30 inches, right?
No, what happens if, in this
Height.
case, 30 inches.
30 inches.
30 inches obscuring.
So just curious, from your opinion, what's your opinion of the shorter fence?
Well, the 30 inches, my son would probably climb right over. I think he would have more fun climbing it. He's already started climbing, or he already climbed out of his crib, so I think it's more of a, he'd see it as a challenge versus as a safety.
The petitioner also said something about a dog, right? Did you say you have a dog too? Is that correct?
Oh, we don't have a dog.
Oh, okay.
I mean, we future,
Okay.
the neighbor
It was
has
the
a dog.
previous one. Okay. Sorry.
You know,
And as I said, I'm flexible on what the setback from the sidewalk is. I wasn't sure that it was, what the setback is from the sidewalk, if it does get through.
Do you know on the property that we had granted back in Renshaw that the setback off the sidewalk, was it 3 foot, I think? It was
The other one was 3 feet, yeah.
Yeah.
what was that, a ornamental?
Yeah, it's the same fence.
Same fence?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I'm okay with.
Is that the one that came back because they wanted to move it closer? Do you remember we had one, we granted it, and then he came back?
I don't think
I don't think they-
because where the tree, that one ended up like in the middle of the tree
Yeah,
or something.
In the middle of the tree, yeah, not that
Yeah,
one.
that wasn't that one.
Okay.
But they had a similar set property on a corner, in a roundabout kind of thing with the aluminum fence, but it was the sidewalk that I know, at least from our view, is just the 3 foot off the sidewalk is usually what.
Yeah, my hard thing is, this was a 6 foot non-obscuring or obscuring.
This is a 4 foot.
I know, I'm saying if it was a 6 foot obscuring, it would be like a no-brainer, where like, but these are nice fences, and I feel that she's kind of, by being a corner lot that doesn't have a back-to-back by just a few feet.
Yeah, and this, no, I understand plats wise, it's a side, but I mean, the way the house is on an angle there. I mean, I think the only thing we've talked about before with that 3 foot, I think was, kid's bike handle hits the post of the fence, so giving them a little bit of breathing room off the sidewalk, that kind of thing, but.
Do you have a picture of the existing, is that the picture on the left of what it looks like?
Yeah.
right now?
Yeah, that is it.
You have it.
So the question is, how,
That's the existing.
Yeah. To the petitioner, are you planning on putting the fence behind the I guess, are those arborvitaes or pines, or what's happening with the foliage there?
So I was planning on just trimming the pine trees back and still keeping it between the sidewalk and the pine trees versus putting it on the inside of the pine trees.
What about on the back side of your property there? Is that is that
Yes,
the
the
neighbor?
arborvitaes are ours, so we're just gonna line it directly behind the arborvitaes to the corner.
On the inside towards your house then? the fence?
No, on the opposite side.
On the neighbor's
When we
side?
talked to our neighbor, they were okay with that.
So the arborvitae's are inside the fence line.
Correct. So there's about 6 inches behind the arborvitae's that's still on our property line.
Okay.
So we would trim down the pine trees along the sidewalk to be able to put a fence up, and then directly behind the arborvitae's, line it behind it to the corner.
Okay, thank you. Salim, I have a question for you. Just hypothetically, the neighbor next door to them, where can they put a fence at if they want to put a fence up? The one that is not back to back, it's back to side?
Let me see.
Can you, I mean,
That same, 2460 house? The one to the east?
yes.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Technically, where can he put the?
Where could he put a fence? Yes.
Yeah, you can see on your PDF, you have the green line. If you would continue the curve on the green line,
The green curve all the way around to the
and that
side.
would tell you exactly where it
Okay.
goes.
Because that's
That's
truly
his-
his front yard.
That's his side yard, not his backyard. That's his front yard.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, along
technically.
Waltham is his front yard.
Connect the house to the green line. Yeah.
Okay. And Matt, you were talking, you'd like to see her move it back? I mean,
I think the setback off the sidewalk is important to me.
I agree with you.
And I think 3 foot is, it's a good number from that sense, to stay within 3 to 4 foot, And then, I mean, I see the pines. I hate, one of my things is I hate to cut down trees and lose good, good landscaping like that if we're going to lose that. But I also don't think that it's setting it right on the sidewalk is a good idea either, so.
Michelle, I have a question for you. If it was to be either 1 foot off the lot line or 3 feet off the lot line, would you be acceptable to that if the board wanted to do something like that? Or are you definite 1 foot off and 1 foot off only?
I mean, I would prefer the 1 foot off to go on the outside of the pine trees, but if the only way to get it approved is 3 foot on the inside, we could go on the inside of the pine, and just connect it. If we can do it on the back side of the arborvitae's, just because there is some landscaping in front of the arborvitae's on our side. But at the end of the day, I'm just looking to, be in between the pine trees and the big huge tree that's there.
Okay.
I would find that acceptable.
Normally we don't negotiate, but one of my board members brought it up. I'm going to make sure that you're fine with it. Thank you. Salim?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that from here, it's very difficult to see the dimensions of the trees. So it would be very difficult at this point to determine if it's 3 or 5 or so, because once you're there, you got roots, you got branches. So we just have to take that in account. I don't want to influence on it, but I just want to make sure that we take that in account.
Matt, I'm sure if we say 3 feet and you want to go 5 around the trees, you can go less. You just can't go more.
Right,
So if we say 3, your option are to cut the trees down and do it, or jog over and go around the trees. Yeah. That's out of our hands, but we could.
I have one more question for Salim. We've kind of run into this in the past, but with this type of relationship on that backside of that, there's not any type of major utility here that we have to worry about, gas line or anything like that, do we?
What happens is that all the permits that go through the building department, all of them, go through DPW. And DPW, independently of what we resolve here, would know that.
Okay.
And so this already went through an application rejection, so I'm sure it already went through DPW. But if it didn't, DPW takes precedent to our decision. But that case would be maybe less than 1% out of all of the cases.
I just wanted to make sure, just because of that obscure.
Yeah, and they do allow fences on top of utilities to a certain degree.
Sure.
Only where there's no high-pressure gas lines.
Right, that's it, yeah. Okay.
So Matt, if I'm hearing you correct, you would like to be 3 feet off the lot line.
That's what I propose.
What do you say on the back, though? There's going to be then 27 feet between her and the neighbor and her arborvitae. Is it okay to be on the lot line there, just 3 feet? Because you want the distance from the sidewalk for...
I just think for safety reasons, 3 foot from the sidewalk.
Totally agree. But then from the sidewalk to the green line on her and the neighbor's side, she'd be right on the lot line there. You still okay with that? We don't want to say 3 feet over there.
I thought that was within permittable.
technically not in front of the green line, it would
This
still
area
be
here.
in question.
Oh, right there.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
that's part of the variance.
I see what you're saying.
So I mean, I have no problem saying 3 feet off the property line, along the curve of the sidewalk and into the property line.
Into the property line. Yeah,
On the back
make
of her
it
property.
uniform, I think.
Yes, I mean,
Yeah. I would agree with that.
because otherwise they're back, because
I don't want it to be a,
this can be permitted all the way to
yes,
here.
I agree with you. I see what you're saying.
Okay.
Yeah, I forgot about that, yeah.
Just in case you want to put a variance or a
Yeah,
motion together to whatever.
there's no driveway or anything there, so yeah, I'd say that's fine.
And Celine, we don't have to worry about a line of sight with a non-obscuring fence for the driveway and the sidewalk, correct?
You're talking about the driveway?
Yes. Or
No, in this case, no, we don't, because the driveway is on the other side.
Okay,
So the setback requires a Waltham.
right. So we don't have to worry about that?
No, we
have to worry
don't.
about the road with the 25 foot, they can see everything okay there?
Yeah, there's no driveways on the area.
Okay. Andy, you have a
I
question?
was agreeing with it, yeah, that's
Okay.
not an issue for the driveway condition.
Matt, you,
No, I mean, if you,
you're good?
like I can grant, or put something forward? you-
Nope,
You
you
good
would like
with
to put something
the
forward? It's-
proposal Matt's going to make here?
I move that we move forward granting the request with a 3-foot setback from the sidewalk line, following the sidewalk to the back property line, and following the back property line for the address at 4578 Post. And this is based on the exceptional characteristics of the property, to grant this variance, just because of the unusual characteristics of the property. And I move to grant that.
Could I ask you to change one thing on that?
Yes, sir.
Could you make it 3 feet from the property line and not the sidewalk?
I'm sorry, 3 foot from the property line. I will say that, 3 foot from the property line, along the sidewalk, and then follow the property line on the rear side of the property, as proposed for 4578 Post.
Hold on for a second. Salim, do I need to check with the petitioner? She's fine with that, or?
Well, since in this case, it's not what she had requested, I would think so, if she wants us to vote on it or not, or if she wants to move it to the next meeting.
Okay, Michelle,
Fine with it. As stated.
you're fine with it as stated? Okay. Do we have a second on it?
Second, Sandy.
Kathy, could you please take the vote?
Mr. DeZerman,
Yes?
Mr. Freisen,
Yes.
Mr. Abathera.
Yes.
Motion carries.
You're all set, Michelle.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
We're going to move to the next thing. We have communications. Jackie, is there any communications?
Not that I am aware of, Mr. Chair.
We're going to move to public comment. Any public comment? Oh, miscellaneous business? Anything?
I will not be here for next meeting. July 7th.
Matt, you won't be here in July?
July 7th, I won't be here.
Okay. Salim and Jackie, we'll make sure that Mark and Teresa, we're probably going to do the same situation again next month. I'm sorry, Kathy. Jackie or Salim, we're probably going to be here doing the exact same?
Correct.
Yes.
Yes? Okay. So we'll make sure that Mark and Teresa both know that we're going to be in person.
Yes, we're going to change the way we inform them,
Okay.
and Jackie and I will get together to work on that.
Okay. Sounds good. Other than that, any other? Okay, we're adjourned. Vote. Vote. Vote.